Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you today. And allow me to also congratulate everybody on this 10th anniversary of this incredibly important event where we talk about digital transformation in Africa. So naturally, as the founder of the Digital Council Africa, this is a topic that's really close to my heart, and something that, you know, we speak on often. As you mentioned, we're an industry association, and for the Digital Council Africa, the adoption of the digital economy by African countries is critically important. We believe in the opportunities that the digital economy will have for Africans, and it's been a message that we've been lobbying for 12 years to create awareness for digital transformation and the adoption of the digital economy. The pandemic, as we know, and as we've heard this morning from some of the other speakers, have certainly accelerated digital transformation. And I think at a pace that no one really could foresee. On the one hand, we were still just like talking about the fourth industrial revolution. We were considering technology's critical role in how we work and live and learn, and then suddenly we just found ourselves in the midst of this accelerated digital world. And the topic of digital transformation is, of course, top of mind for most CIOs. It's widely discussed in the boardrooms. That's what this event is all about. And it's, of course, you know, natural for companies to be focusing on technological developments. One of our speakers this morning said that, you know, the ability to look ahead, understand what comes is so important. And of course, everybody wants to be the big next disruptor. Hyperconnectivity and technology is at the core of what we're doing. The technological dimensions of hyperconnectivity serve the goals of creating stakeholder value in smarter, better, faster, cheaper, and of course in more informed ways. And as we know, the Internet of Things connects all these devices, sensors, data processors, and connectivity solutions. And this will result in actionable intelligence and benefits from the most simple to the most complex application. It is another means to an end, and you know, we know that it creates value for stakeholders, regardless of who they are, and in any type of Internet of Things application. And we know that and agree that it suggests that objects, devices, and people will be increasingly interconnected through digital infrastructure. And this poses tremendous potential for all of us and for Africa. But to support that, I'm hoping that I can just quickly share a slide with all of us, just to demonstrate this immense potential that Africa has and that it will have in the next couple of years as we grow. In the last couple of months, we've seen increasing participation in and announcements of new data centers being built on the continent. There's an increase in you know, connectivity being deployed. But I just wanted to take a moment to focus on two things. If you look at this slide and we look at the connectivity of global broadband, global IoT devices, we can see that, you know, the connectivity is 68% unique subscriber penetration. We've got 4,854 co-located data centers in 129 countries. We can look at the international broadband growth year on year. If we look at the IoT devices, there's approximately 12 billion IoT connections, which results in 72% smartphone penetration. Fixed connectivity has almost reached 60%. Just consider something like globally, there's 5 billion internet users in 2021, and there's 218 billion applications that was downloaded in 2020. And then if you look at the global sort of average for the total time spent on the internet, it's close to 7 hours a day. But let's zone in, for instance, just on data centers. And I'm going to slide down to the next slide because I want us to just get a look at where Africa stands, sub-Saharan Africa particularly, stands with data center penetration. 79 data centers compared to the average of 5,854 data centers that have been deployed globally. If you consider tower infrastructure, 4.94 million towers, and this was statistics that were published towards the end of 2021. So we can be assured that that number has increased. If we look at the tower infrastructure in Africa, 169,000 towers in sub-Saharan Africa. Look at the IoT devices, 24 million IoT connections, connections versus 12 billion internet connections globally. So obviously there's a clear discrepancy between where we're at in Africa and then of course where we need to be and what we need to be aiming for globally. And I suppose this brings me to my conversation today. We agree that there's tremendous potential in Africa. We agree that there's massive market. We're going to see tremendous global investment in the next couple of years, especially as we've seen this maturity in African markets for the adoption of digital services. And we also know, and I think it's fair to say that connectivity forms the basis of a digital journey. So first, before we can start and speak about all things digital transformation, we have to make sure that as a continent, we have our connectivity in place. Unfortunately, the pandemic has also illuminated a long-standing issue and something that we've been speaking about for a really long time. And that's the fact that billions of people, individuals, remain without the universal right of internet access. And this is the single biggest threat to digital transformation, and it lies in what we now call the digital divide. In fact, I always say to people, for me, the digital divide is not even a divide anymore, it's a chasm. And we have to find ways of overcoming that. If we look at underserviced communities, and many rural and low-income communities, and maybe not just in Africa, around the world, including those communities in large urban areas that lack reliable and affordable access, we know that these communities are going to be left behind and they're going to be further marginalized. And more importantly, so technology is no longer just important for consumers and for entertainment. It's rapidly becoming critical in how we connect everything in this digital world. From even looking at the future, autonomous vehicles and smart homes and smart cities, we have to now make sure that we get the basics and the foundations in place. But still, there's this tremendous risk that we can leave a substantial amount of our people, of Africans, behind if we don't start focusing on the digital divide and how that can be overcome. In the beginning of 2020, there was a statistic that came out just in South Africa that approximately 6.5 million children were sent home and they had no education and no access to education. The whole digital ecosystem is connectivity, and secondly, it's also access to devices. And I'm sure that we agree that technology can potentially play this tremendously transformative role, and it has the ability to do an incredible amount of good as it helps humans achieve things that once seemed impossible. But that's only true if you've got access to either connectivity or to a device that helps you to connect to the internet. So there's a big ecosystem, and governments play an incredibly important role in helping put in place certain parameters and policies and regulation that makes it easier for companies to reach underserviced areas so that we can find everyone and find a space where we can have everyone connected. So we have to make sure that marginalized communities are brought into the digital economy, and that we find ways of bringing everybody in, and we create inclusive societies, and that digital transformation is not just a concept. Because the fact of the matter is as we sit here today, the bulk of Africans, if we approach them, they won't understand what digital transformation is about, because they are completely left outside of the digital transformation that is currently taking place and that is sweeping the continent. So as we embark on our deliberations and as we talk, it also has to be top of mind inclusivity in how we take everybody on this journey. Without robust internet access, we are leaving people behind academically and economically. We have a moral imperative to ensure that everybody can play a part in the fourth industrial revolution, and that we find ways of enabling the next generation of participants in this journey. The other aspect I want to quickly touch on is skills. We are facing what's called a brain drain from Africans that are leaving the continent to find jobs in other parts of the world. Now, one of the things that I think the pandemic has done, it's given us the ability to participate in these job opportunities without necessarily having to leave your country, which will still help stimulate the economy. But we've got to make sure as Africans that we start focusing on creating the necessary digital skills so that everybody can equally participate in this economy. We have to ensure that creating digital skills is not something that is left up to people that only leave school and once they go to universities. In a recent research that was done through an industry association that focuses on youth employment, one of the things that they listed from young people that they interviewed was that they are concerned about being work ready. They don't really understand digital technology so that they can apply it just in their day-to-day work. So if we've got that really foundational skills issue, how can we then talk really about true digital transformation? It's so important that we get the digital skill set right so that we can train our young people to be the next Elon Musk and to be the next generation of people that can truly harness the potential and participate in the digital economy. Unfortunately, the gap between those that have and those that don't is widening across Africa due to lack of connectivity. People without robust internet access are being left behind academically and economically. And if we're going to embrace digital transformation, it is imperative that the journey is inclusive and that we take all people with us on this journey. Technology is meant to be this great equalizer, not a divider. Technology is meant to serve all of humanity, not just some. And normally at this point, someone will apologize for laboring a point, but I'm not going to do that today. I want to leave you with a saying of a man called Stephen Frost. And Stephen Frost said, if we are not intentionally including, we are unintentionally excluding. So as we embark on this journey and as we talk about this topic that is so critical, and it is something that is happening in the rest of the world, we have to accept that we have to form part of it and that there's a lot of work to be done. But if we're going to embark on this journey and each one of us are going to say, that's all good and well, but this is not my problem. This is somebody else's problem. No one is going to do it. So colleagues, it is all our problem. It is all our responsibility to raise awareness for the digital divide. Each one of us is a lobbyist if you're in the sector and if you're truly passionate about digital transformation and inclusion. We have to find platforms where we can raise awareness so that this is not just for a select few people, that this is not an economy that's going to be built by other countries in Africa, but that Africans will build digital transformation for Africans, that we will be the thought leaders in digital transformation by Africans for Africans. I'm going to repeat that again. If we are not intentionally including, we are unintentionally excluding. I hope that this message today resonates with each one of you. I wish you a wonderful conference. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I wish you all the best for the deliberations today.
Thank you, Ms. Clark, for your keynote presentation. Certainly, it's very invigorating to hear you. Digital transformation by Africa, for Africa. And I'm sure once the resolve is there, it will happen. All through the day, we've heard a number of people from Africa talk about how they are looking to leverage digital transformation. And I'm sure this is going to become a reality soon for the benefit of all of Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anisha.